Hi, I'm Zachary Sutlovich, and I assisted the costume designer Maria Flores with costume construction during the LaGuardia Community College production of Pippin. In addition, during the performance of the play, I helped backstage with quick changes and costuming. At the start of my journey, I was incredibly unsure of how I could be assistance. What skills do I possess, and how would I be able to lend them to the art of costume design? The first project I worked on was a hat that was envisioned to be outfitted with hoses on it, and it was my job to find a way to keep the hoses in place. It was suggested I use tape or hot glue. As I opted to use needle and thread instead, I realized I did possess a valuable skill many people might not have. Instead of using hot glue, I actually know how to sew by hand, and I could use that skill to give the wardrobe a more professional look. It's a skill I've learned when I was very young, and it's a very useful skill I can apply to costume designing. The hoses were a bit stiff, and it would be a more complex technique of sewing, but I was able to flex them and hold them in place with very secure knots. Unfortunately, this hat was not used in the show due to it being too top-heavy to dance in. When I was a child, I thought of sewing as a necessary skill, because when I wanted something repaired, my mother would take forever to get around to it. So if you want something done, you gotta do it yourself. I would say my favorite project that I worked on was the vest decorated with safety pins. The challenge was to try and establish a pattern that didn't look like a mess, and it was hard to try and make it look symmetrical. My favorite part was doing the collar because it was the most detailed. This project reminded me of the painting class I took at LaGuardia Community College, where I chose my final paintings to be birds and patterns, because I feel patterns have a more focused look. Another project that I started, but I didn't finish, was the dress with the computer keys on it. See, I don't love using the glue gun, so I winded up letting someone else finish that while I took on another project. The cape was the most challenging project I had to work on. I had to figure out the best way to put the flowers on it. I chose to sew them on because I always feel that's the best method. While working on the project, Maria and I worked side by side. While I was working on the left side of the cape, Maria was working on the back of the cape, where she was arranging the little black roses into a heart shape. Maria and I were talking about the concept behind the cape. Her vision is that the cape embodied Fastrada's dark, manipulative ways, with the black roses. We originally added small black roses, and I suggested that we should add some black paint onto the flowers to match it better. When we were adding the black paint, Juliana, our set designer, suggested that we should paint directly onto the cape to give it more character, which was the best decision. Sadly, the cape lost its original purpose, but at least I could say it was used.
When I first
Enter Catherine!
but it's always late.
The ability to collaborate artistically is one of the most important skills to have. I had no problem collaborating with Maria because it's something I do all the time. The person I always collaborate the most with is my sister, and a lot of times when she's making miniature clothing, I help her figure out the patterns and even how the best way to connect them.
Murder! Holy war!
And a climax. Ladies and gentlemen, a climax you will remember for the rest of your lives. Not now, later.
Going into this, I wasn't sure what to expect or how I would be of use. I didn't realize how much of my own personal skills would be important. This semester has been so different, and it definitely had a bigger impact on me than I have ever expected. Meeting Maria was one of the highlights of this experience. Being able to call her friend is honestly amazing. Working on costumes almost every Saturday was something I looked forward to. I also enjoyed the repetition of the backstage routine, because it was nice to know what to expect. I learned how demanding backstage could be, because I had to repair multiple costume pieces by hot glue or sewing. For some reason, I really enjoyed quick changes. Most probably because over the course of the play, I really gained to understand the importance of this role. Overall, this experience gave me a glimpse into what my possible future could look like, and I can say I'm kind of excited to see what this could take me. I also want to thank my backstage crew because experience would not have been the same without you guys. And it was honestly a pleasure working with all of you.